Alright, here we go. First things first, the giveaway winner. So, a while ago, on, well, already the 30th of May, so almost a month ago, I put this giveaway online, a Herald of Rebirth giveaway. I was giving away 3 heralds, 1 to each person, so 1 of each color. And the setting was as follows: a Flesh and Blood format, but there's a twist. You're allowed to give a keyword if your hero only has 1. For example, Katsui is a ninja, so you could give it a shadow keyword. And I made it so that people need to leave comments, and then the comment with the most likes wins. I went down all the comments in here, and I found 3 of them. Like one of them is from Mara from Blackwing. What's it called? Blackwing Studio. That had 8 likes, Papier had 9, and Sin had 7. I will go ahead and scroll down to find the comments that they placed. So the first winner of today is from Blackwing Studio Mara, who said, I've actually said this for a while, a Shadow Mechanologist would be the coolest class by far. The synergy between Boost and Blood Depth would make an amazing set of mechanics. I kind of agree. I think Shadow Mechanologist would be a very cool combination, especially if we can get Mechanologist cards that have the Shadow word bound onto it as well as Blood Depth. That way you always have that extra value as a Mechanologist. I do think Mechanologist in general has a lot of value already, so I'm not sure if having the Blood Depth on a Mechanologist card would be a little bit too overpowered, or if Mechanologist just having access to Shadow cards would be good. But I could see a world if we had a format with the current card pool where a Shadow Mechanologist could definitely pull off some very fun plays. So we have Papier next as our next contestant. Papier has posted twice, but I believe the post that got the most likes is this one. A two-handed Shadow Warrior. The one we all know and love, artwork credit by Future Art. Right here we have the, I think it's how we pronounce it. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but it's the Exude Confidence Art, a two-handed, well, is it two-handed, like more like 2 one-handers now? Or is that considered a two-handed weapon? But Shadow Warrior is also a very nice pick. I mean, Shadow in general creates a significant amount of value in a lot of decks because you have all these very cool non-attacks. I'm not sure how Shadow Warrior would function in general, because if I look at the current card pool, I guess Warrior would need to have additional cards for it to function properly, but thematically wise, Shadow Warrior would be absolutely amazing. And then we have one more winner who, let's see, maybe I should just use the Control F to find it quickly. And we have Senfai Enthusiast, who says, give us a light guardian that works with the team of a paladin. Something that has the potential to give dominate to an attack based on soul charging. That's kind of cool, yeah. Like I kind of personally always thought that Bolton is kind of like a paladin as a light warrior, but I guess light guardian would fit the team more, especially in a fantasy setting. So yeah, I feel we had a lot of really great entries on here. Super happy with that, and thank you everyone for participating in this giveaway. Also, congratulations to Sin, Mara and Papier for winning. Reach out to me with an address or something and I will get one of the Herald of Rebirth cards sent out to you. I would have loved to have given everyone a full playset, but the creator package didn't give that many. I only got 30 copies of each, and I have a lot of viewers that would like one, so unfortunately I can only send out one at a time. But I'm gonna do more giveaways, more contests in the future, so you might actually end up winning more. So next up on the menu we have a bit of a Q&A session. I put this one over on YouTube a while ago, and it says ask your questions here, and I will go over them in a video soon. Hashtag FAB TCG. And we got a bunch of reactions here where I'm going to have a look which ones I can answer and which ones I cannot. So the first question here is from Albert Hill, and Albert Hill asks, Which heroes will have the toughest matchups into the new heroes in CC? And what cards that were dots previously do you think are now playable? Well, which heroes will have a tough time? I think Prism will definitely have a tough time because Prism kind of struggles against those hyper aggro decks. Especially with things like Fire, which is something that I have been practicing myself. I do think though, because of we might end up in a bit of a meta triangle. Like if things like Fire get very popular, then things like Ultim will become popular. And then if things like Ultim become popular, things like Prism will become popular again to beat the Ultims, and then things like Fire will be popular again. So we might actually have reached the point that we get a bit of a meta wheel that starts spinning, which we haven't really had for a long time. We've had a very dominating class at the very top of the meta chain. We might not have that anymore, which is kind of good. And regardless of which heroes will have a tough matchup, I think like any of the aggro heroes up until now, they might not be able to keep up with the aggro output of decks like Fire, and that's definitely something to keep an eye out. And I'm not really sure if Icelander is going to be a thing that we see a lot in the meta. Like I think in Blitz, Icelander is amazing, but in CC, I am afraid that her damage output is just not enough to really make a difference in CC, but I might be very wrong. Like maybe Icelander is very good at just playing the long game. I've seen very efficiently dealing with things like Fire over in the limited format, so a fully fleshed out Icelander deck might actually be rather viable. Like I mean, in the beginning Lexi wasn't good, right? When Lexi first came out, we had a lot of people that went for the Lightning Lexi build, and Ice Lexi was kind of brushed under the rug as a bad deck. But nowadays you can see that Ice Lexi is a absolutely amazing deck, and we really underestimated that, which may be the case with Icelander as well. So yeah, I think Prism will have a tough time if we're talking about top meta picks. I suppose I guess Ultim should have does he have a decent matchup against things like Icelander? I think Ultimate may be a bit difficult because Icelander can, for one, do like a big attack during her turn, and then during their turn it puts Ultim in a checkmate position that they can't really attack, otherwise they get slapped with like 7 to 10 damage of arcane damage into the face. So I guess Ultim will have a bit of a hard time. I think Dash will have a hard time simply because the new Erase Face card, which will go into a lot of decks, it can turn off all the Mechanologist keywords, so that can be kind of tough in general for Dash. And other than that, I really need to see how things are going to shape up in the current metagame before I can do a proper analysis or a proper answer to that. Then the next question Albert asked is, what cards that were dots previously do you think are now playable? Well, not necessarily that they were dots, but I think any card that has an on-hit trigger that doesn't really say hits target hero, things like, what's the thing called? Like Endless Arrow that just say if this hits, return to the hand. I think those are going to be quite good because things like Dromai will be in the format now, so things like Dawnblade for Dorinthia, which hasn't really been doing that well in the current metagame, might actually become relevant again because now we don't have Chain anymore, we don't have Starve anymore, and I think Dorinthia in general has a decent matchup against things like Guardian and Dorinthia as well, against Guardian decks and Prism as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's not really necessarily a card, but I think Dorinthia as a hero might become a bit more viable again. And other than that, what are cards that I think before unplayable that now are? I can't think of any off the top of my mind that I've recently added to my deck, so... But if I find some interaction, I'll be sure to upload a quick video, so keep an eye out for that. Samurai asks, why are you so awesome? Well, I don't know about that. And then he says, if you're too humble to answer that one, well, let's keep it at that. What deck should players be prepared to try if and when Prism becomes retired? Well, if Prism becomes retired, what happens then? So Prism is kind of the main deck that is keeping things like Ultim in check, right? So I think if Prism were to retire at this point of time, then I think Ultim might very well become the #1 top tier deck in the format, simply because Ultim has so many ways to stop damage from coming in, and the payoffs to having like a big Oaken ult turn are very good. So I do think that Ultim will become very viable again. What else will become viable if Prism is no longer in the format? Like Dorinthia, I already talked about that. She already had a good matchup against Prism, I think. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I haven't really seen much Dorinthia gameplay for quite some time. But I guess Dorinthia might also move up a slot in general. Not really Prism related, but because Dorinthia has a lot of good matchups at the moment. I guess Katsu would do a bit better. Like, a lot of people say that Katsu is a very good Prism counter, but I kind of disagree about that. Like, Katsu is very good against Prisms that don't really know what they're doing, but once you have a Prism player that perfectly knows how the Katsu deck functions, a Prism player can really stop all this unhit triggers from things like the Mass of Momentum, as well as the whole big lot of wind combat chain from going off. So I guess Katsu will be in a much better position if Prism were to leave the format, and that's probably about it. I don't think that Prism retiring right now will do a whole lot. We will just see an upshift in things like Bravo and Ultim, I guess, and that's probably about it, I suppose. How many ice buns can you do with Icelander on a 10 game day? I think about 23. So, next question. How do the new ninja card effects affect Katsu and CC? Well, we have the double strike, which is kind of good for Katsu in general to be able to present a Moss trigger easily, but I'm not really sure about the ruling on double strike, because previously I thought that double strike banishes itself and then you can play it again. But a friend of mine pointed out that maybe because of the card text on double strike, it says that it loses this ability. And what I'm not sure about is like if it loses this ability also means that it loses go again. Because if it does lose go again, then the double strike might not be that good. Like, setting up an arsenal is not as good as being able to present yet another attack on the combat chain. So I guess double strike will definitely be something that will be very good in Katsu if the go again is still there after you play it a second time. And I think Take the Tempo is also a very good card that can go into Katsu, simply because we have a lot of attack action cards in the deck. If we don't really run non-attack actions, and we have a very small number of attack reactions and defense reactions in the deck. So I think Take the Tempo is a very good pick for the Katsu deck that will probably see a lot of play and force a lot of weird blocks in general. So I think Take the Tempo is going to be a really solid card. And another card that will definitely see play is That All You Got, the new defense reaction, because we have so many decks that have small attacks, and in a Katsu deck having that one available to block and draw a card is going to be absolutely amazing. And of course the Erase Face card, which is like 2 cast attacks are generally good in Ira and Katsu decks, and especially now when we have so many heroes that have important card tags on their cards and heroes and stuff like that. I think Erase Face is definitely going to be a mainstay sideboard card for Katsu. Ice Chief asks, what do you expect to be top tier? I definitely expect Ultim to be a top tier deck. I also expect Prism to continue to be a top tier deck, even though that Prism now doesn't really have the Starvo matchup anymore to prey on. But I think a lot of Starvo players are probably going to switch over to Ultim, so Prism should have enough of targets that she can beat easily. I also think that Briar might become S tier. I'm not 100% sure if Briar will be S tier, because keep in mind I'm just spitballing here. I don't have any data yet of the new format, so don't take this as a fact. Like, I like to present my opinions with with, well, not opinions. I like to present my meta-analysis with the proper amount of data to back it up. Right now I have no data, so I take it with a grain of salt. But I think Briar all team and Prism for sure. And I am a strong believer that Lexi is now going to be a top tier deck as well, because we have so many aggro decks in the format and she can really punish them with all her ice interactions. What's your favorite card art? Well, I'm going to say at the moment it's probably still Mass of Momentum. It's probably one of the cards that really pulled me into the game solid, and other than that, I think Winds of Eternity, the preview card that I had in the previous season during Everfest, I really loved that card. I loved the whole aesthetic of the ninja standing in front of the tree. You can see that his arm is missing, so there's really some very strong backstory to the card, that you can see that this ninja went through a lot of struggle and stuff like that. So I really like those kind of like slides of life artworks that don't really depict fighting, but have a deep story within it. Things like Ancestral Empowerment is another card that you can really see some deep story in it, with the mist with all the ancestors behind the ninja. I think it's Katsu in that artwork. So definitely one of those three cards, and then we can move on to our very last question of the day. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I think about 2. Anyways, that's all for today, I guess. I will put another of these posts online next, so if you have any questions, feel free to leave them there. I will go through them and answer them. I get a lot of messages over on Discord, and some of you might have noticed that I have been really taking my time replying. Like sometimes it even takes me like 2 or 3 days to reply to a message. I'm very sorry about that. I'm really flooded with messages, especially with the Uprising set coming out this week. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of people need answers. We need deck tags, we need answers, give them fast. So I do apologize about that, but I really liked doing a video like this. I hope I can do more of it, and again, congratulations to the winners of the giveaway, and see you all soon with another gameplay video or a deck tag.